It's early autumn and we're heading to a tunnel house heaving with late harvest tomatoes and a flourishing vine. It's part of a mara kai, a Māori food garden, where whānau are getting their hands in the soil and finding out how to grow food and other things in their own backyards. Oh my goodness, here we are.
Okay,
Look
so
at this.
Right at
The vine is just clambering up there, isn't it?
Giant hue, we call it, which is a traditional water bottle or a vessel that our tupuna used to carry their preserved food.
I'm chatting with Pounamu Skelton and we're looking at one of the crops she's been growing in the warmth of the tunnel house, protected from frost and winds blowing in off the northern Taranaki coast. Let's describe it because it is quite an unusual shape, isn't it?
Yes, it's a bottle gourd, they call it. I'll just show you, pull the leaf away so you can see it. Quite gorgeous. So that's not finished doing its thing yet, and it's very green, so there's a curation period where you have to dry them, and then if you're going to use it to preserve food in, obviously you'd take the neck off and put your food inside, probably be preserved in fat.
And what would you use that for nowadays?
Oh, I just love growing them, and then I give them to artists to do wonderful things with.
Not to be eaten?
No, we don't eat these. I just grow them because I think to preserve a culture you have to, do it. You actually have to enact it.
So the gourd and its ancient uses are among crops and growing techniques Pounamu and her team are using in their teaching.
This land is called Te Rauorongo, so it's a papakainga, which means our family is living on this land and will do forever and more, intergenerational living. So that includes my elderly parents and myself, and then often there's family members staying. Ko Tiatiawa tōku iwi, so I'm from the northern tribes of Taranaki, Tiatiawa. Ngāti Rahiri is the hapu on my dad's side, which is literally this area here. So we have come back to tribal lands. We're on the tongi or the boundary of Ngāti Mutunga and Tiatiawa. We are creating a Māori food farm, or a place which can empower our people to go back to growing food and becoming gardeners again. So I come from a long line of gardeners, and this place is a space to be able to live my dreams, really, to showcase the principles of huaparakore and the way and the style that we grow kai.
And we'll just explain the huaparakore. It's organic gardening the Māori way.
Yes, so Te Waka Kaiora is the kaitiaki of huaparakore. And so it's a framework of 6 principles. So really we do no harm to the land. We understand the stories of the land, the whakapapa of the seed, whakapapa of the person who's growing food. And it's a place where you can tell your story about your food. So not just about food, but really the whole embrace of the process of growing that food. So it is kai atua, or it's a pure product at the end.
And on this block of land, you host wānanga or some courses for people to learn more.
Most weekends there's people here doing wānanga. So a program that's run through, that I created actually, called Tātai Tangata ki te Whenua, which 3 iwi in Taranaki are part of. So whānau come through here, do the practical part of growing kai. So hands-on, in the soil, raising the seeds, making compost together, growing kai together, laughing together, eating together.
About 270 whānau, mostly urban-based, have been through the course. They learn online during the week and then come here at the weekends to get their hands in the soil and put the concepts into practice. The hope is they can then replicate what they've learnt in their own gardens and grow their own kai.
So we did an evaluation 2 seasons ago now, and the average price of money saved was $60 a week for a household. Māori households are larger. They have between 5 and 8 people in them. If they start growing food as a household, then they get more connection with the environment because you go outside. A lot of parents are talking about they have better relationships with their children because their children help in the garden. So it's a different kind of dynamic, you can communicate and do something together. So good for family dynamics. Plus they get to eat healthier food, which they've grown. So there's a connection back to the food rather than a disconnection from a supermarket. So it really does hit on many levels.
Let's wander through, shall we?
Shall we?
Tell me what you've got here.
We've got an 18-metre tunnel house, which was a gift from Te Kāhui o Taranaki, our iwi. Well, I spend most of winter in here doing seedlings for the program. So when we launch in spring, everyone's able to receive seedlings. And then actually you'll see the tomatoes and the chilies and the aubergines and the hue, the gourd, they're just enormous. Wow. Because they've been grown in a warm space.
And this is the right time to be looking at your harvest, I guess.
Oh yeah, we've been harvesting for weeks. So,
have you got an oversupply? What happens to that?
Well, I've been busy, and actually the whole family's been busy preserving. So, we'll have a night session of preserving peaches and making chutneys, and because it's quite a lot of work, to be fair, to actually get into jars. So this is starting to dry herbs out here. So this is all basil. And so I'm just experimenting. This is my place to play, and experiment, dry things out, sunflower seeds. So we'll save that seed for next season. I guess the purpose of this is to close the loop, so you have seed for next year and the year after, and I can actually give some of that away.
Do you find there's a lack of knowledge out there, or do you find that people have a sort of grain of knowledge and they just want to take it and embellish it and get to know more?
Some people really take to it. I think what growing food does, it brings out a memory from grandparents, parents, great-grandparents, and people really take to certain areas, whether it's seed sowing or the preserving or the growing.
Now, you told me earlier that you are flying the flag for food sovereignty in Taranaki.
Oh, me and others.
But that's your kind of MO, your modus operandi, isn't it? It's what you love.
I've been in the scene for a long time with Te Waka Kaiora, and that's one of our kind of purposes to bring food systems back into local hands. Because, we can grow food that's relevant to our climate, and we could distribute food locally, rather than the goal being to grow food for export, so it goes overseas. Makes no sense to my brain. So everything I do is always geared up to grow food for local economy, or just for, at the moment it's to educate our people so they can have food on their table.
And have any of your students taken it to another level and gone commercial with their food growing?
Not so much in the Māori space yet. However, they've gone from just a very small garden to now a full backyard and around the corner garden, so their self-sufficiency has increased.
And what about health outcomes?
Gardening has a lot of benefits for mental health. And for me too, this is where I come when I need some space in my head to, reduce the bandwidth of information that we carry. I've had a lot of outcomes of people coming off methamphetamine through gardening, which has been profound. An unexpected outcome, and also reduction of anxiety in adults. That's been a very common health benefit. Why
do you think that they're able to get off meth through gardening?
Yeah, maybe it's because it's a positive environment, because it's a peaceful environment. So in Te Ao Māori, we talk about the atua of rongo mātāne, so the god of peace and hospitality. So your hands are busy, right, when you're gardening. Māori are generally quite kinesthetic. So I think when your hands are busy, your brain can rest. There's a sense of peace that comes. There's a sense of well-being that occurs. I've been observing it for the last 8 years. I watch people come in quite tense and stressed, and then they leave very relaxed and kind of a happiness. So I think people come back into balance when they're in the mara. Plus you get to eat good food. So that helps, because you can be nourished, and not need other stimulants. Okay.
There's plenty of variety here, including citrus, a kumara garden and a new berry house built by Pounamu's 81-year-old father. Do your parents get involved with the gardening?
So Dad's very involved in planning, like what's next. So we've only been here 15 months. We've had a big dream and vision to really get this place humming. So Dad's been instrumental in building all of the structures, helping with the vision. And Mum is amazing at the harvest. I just bring baskets in and she'll clean them up. She's just taught me how to do all the peaches, because I remember this stuff as a child, but I kind of was too busy eating than learning how to do it.
And she's got all that stored away knowledge, I suppose, and a generation before of what they were doing with their food.
Absolutely, it's wonderful. I think everyone's got their role.
Will you have more people coming? You say it's papakainga.
Yes.
So will you have more homes being built here as well?
Yes, I'm waiting for that money to drop down. I'm manifesting it. Really would love to be able to provide a place for retreating. So, like busy executive people who need to come and reconnect back to whenua. I'd love to be able to provide a space for that. I'm going to introduce you to our little lambs, which now look like sheep. We hand raise them.
They're looking very healthy. Little round tummies.
Now they're little round tummy and probably not lambs anymore. Hello.
They are all coming to see you. Have you got some food for them,
I
Pounamu?
haven't, but hopefully you remember us. Hello. So this garden, this is where I wanted Farron to join us, because this is the Kaioranga garden. Kaioranga is a level 3 and level 4 program out of Te Whare Wānanga or Awanuiarangi. And so this garden is their teaching garden. Groups come through every month and they garden in here and they learn how to grow food.
So it's not so much about production, but more about experimentation?
Absolutely. And they've made everything here, including the pallet fence that we're standing beside. So often it was our Māori woman that had never used a power tool, and they learned how to build basic things like the fencing, that little shed that was built. They built that out of recycled materials, the composting system over here.
The water system,
the water system they put in. Yeah. So it's sort of, I call it the showcase garden, but actually the students were learning and doing, and yeah, it's been very productive. What happens here is there's a lot of goodwill comes, a lot of koha, we call it, gifting. So this beautiful compost bin came from Parakuri, which is the Māori Zero Waste organisation. And I really love it. It smells of beeswax.
I can smell it already. Even in that wind.
Yeah.
Lift it up, let's have a look. What's in there?
Ooh. Okay, so, oopsie. So my students made the contents for it. When they come back in a couple of weeks, we'll turn it and they can just see the magic of creating soil, because we need to grow more soil. We're just moving into the kamu garden. Māori love kamu, goes great in a boil up. So actually this whole space was full of kamu less than 2 weeks ago, actually.
Some people may not be familiar with kamu.
Oh, it's a type of marrow. So we like them when they're small. Just trying to look around to see if there's any. So that's when, like my mum loves it when it's small, not so much when it gets big like a pumpkin. They're like baby food, You cut them up and add them to a boil up, or I like them sort of lightly fried in butter or salt.
Roasted and they caramelise, the tops of them caramelise,
it's really
and it's
sweet.
a delicious buttery flavour.
It's very sweet. So actually most of this has just gone back out to kaumatua in our community. Yeah, we've eaten a few, but mainly I've just given most of it away. And so Dad's like, no, we're definitely doing kamu next year, because actually he saw the joy of the gifting, and we've got the space where they can just run. We've had box loads. And so, I'll take boxes up to the iwi offices and over to kaumatua groups, just so actually they can enjoy a taste of what they've had in the past, So it brings joy, which is I'm all into doing that. Let's bring joy to people's lives through food.
Pounamu Skelton at the family Mara near Waitara in Taranaki.